What we are being told nowadays is to work smarter and not to work harder. I want to give you one example of someone who worked smarter. Actually, there are two occasions where two people worked smartly and made billions of shillings out of being smart. The first person was called Mr. Merali. Mr. Merali is the one who started Kensel, which today is called Airtel. Now, when he started Airtel, he had 40% shares, and he had an international investor who had 60% share. So when the investor wanted to sell his shares, Merali just kept quiet and he never told him. And when this man wanted to sell, he discovered that last minute that this Merali quoted something that is called preemptive right. Preemptive right is that if you are a shareholder in a company, before somebody else is asked to buy shares, you are supposed to give authority, and you are supposed to make sure the person has to make sure that you don't want to buy additional shares, or you are not interested, or both. So this fellow, when he knew that the other company, the international investor, wanted to sell the 60% shares, he went and approached an Indian company. When he approached the Indian company, they agreed to buy the 60 shares from him. So what happened is that he sold them at a higher price per share. I do not remember the figures, but let us say they gave him 4 billion for those shares, 4 billion. But the shares were worth 2 billion. So one morning they came with 4 billion, stayed in his office along Mombasa Road on the ground floor. And then when they stayed in the ground floor of the building, these other fellows came and he talked to them on the first floor. He said, how much would you want? They agreed on 2 billion. Then he went down, took the 4 billion shillings, gave them 2 billion, and the other 2 billion pocketed. That was the company which was there before Airtel. It was called Celtel, yeah. He sold the shares to Celtel, and then took half the money and gave it to the international investor, whereby technically he owned the whole of Kensel. And then after getting the money, he gave half of it to Celtel and remained with the half. So he made billions in 2 hours. The other case where somebody also worked smart and earned billions is somebody called Chris Murugaru. You know, since independence, police have been using Land Rovers, and what used to be called provincial administration, but today is called Ngao, National Government Administrative Officers. They have been using, and other departments, they have been using Land Rovers. So this fellow went to Toyota East Africa and wanted to know the price of one Land Cruiser. He found that 2 Land Cruisers were the same price as one Land Rover. So he went to Toyota East Africa and signed that from now henceforth all new vehicles to the police, instead of Land Rovers, they'll be using Land Cruisers. And you know, can you count how many Land Cruisers the office of the president bought? And then take 10% of that. From the proceeds, Murugaru took the money and started a very good veterinary lab where he comes from. Is it veterinary or agriculture? I don't know, but he started a very good lab in his home area. Now, Kenyans, that is what we call smart thinking. Getting a good idea at the nick of time and you make billions out of it. That is why you find that the American and British governments knew how he made those money, and they knew how he made those money, and they insisted that it was through corruption, and they told him to explain the newfound billions, not even a million, billions. But he invoked a section where the law says you cannot give evidence that implicates you.